Hello, renewers. Welcome to Renews, the news about Renew. Listen, thanks so much for being invested in this ministry. Really appreciate it. God's doing some really cool things and impacting this revolution that's going on, and you're a part of that. And I just thank you for partnering with us. The other day I was having a conversation with a friend. We got talking about our dads, and for both of us, there's kind of a tense relationship with our dads, at least some of the time. And I was sharing about how my dad and I, on one hand, were very much alike. Looking back on it, I could see like he had the same kind of brain I have. He'd get obsessed about things, and I see myself in him. But our worlds were so different. My interests were so different from his, and so we were always just missing. We just couldn't connect really. He was into sports and fishing and making money and things like hunting and all that stuff. And I was into books. And we tried to find points of connection, but they were always kind of awkward. I remember one time being out on Mille Lacs Lake fishing on season opener. That was one of his favorite things. He'd just go out and buy all these gadgets, fish finders, and we had the best rig out there. And we always came back with hardly any fish. These other guys out there in a little canoe without any gadgets would have a ring full. We couldn't figure it out. But one time, it was a cold day, windy, and we're out there fishing. I'm bored to death because I hated fishing. Even when I ate fish, I hated fishing. But I'm going out there because, I'm a son. I'm supposed to do this with my dad. But I'm doing it by reading Hebrew. I was learning Hebrew. I was like a sophomore in college. And I had my Hebrew text and I had a dictionary here and I was just studying Hebrew while we were fishing. And my dad caught this pretty big fish suddenly and he was trying to reel it in. And it's flopping all over the place. And I finally noticed it, and I said, "Oh, looks like you caught a fish." And my dad responded in language I can't repeat here. "Well, if you just get your blankety blank nose out of that blankety blank book and pretend like I blankety blank cared about this blankety blank fish, maybe we'd actually land a blankety blank fish in this blankety blank boat." And look, we were always missing. And as I was talking about how we just missed each other and just couldn't kind of connect, I got choked up. I was really surprised. I'm talking to him, and all of a sudden I got choked up. I get a little choked up now. I'm telling you about it. It's weird how my dad's been dead for over 10, 11 years now, and there are moments where he's back again. And sometimes, and I'm sure some of you can relate to this if you've lost loved ones, especially recently, it can be a song or a smell or a scene. All of a sudden, there's something you remember that you hadn't thought of for maybe 30, 40, 50 years. All of a sudden, it's back there. There's a bittersweet quality to death, to losing loved ones, especially talking to those who have maybe lost loved ones recently. There's something unnatural about it. Even if the person is of a ripe old age and you expect them to die, when they die, there's something that just doesn't feel right about it. And that's because we were never meant to transition this way. On the whole, we tend to go out of this world in a very undignified way. You think we could end with a triumph, but yay, a celebration. That hardly ever happens. We just sort of peter out. There's something not right about it. And that's because we weren't ever supposed to experience life this way. And it hurts. You feel this pain, even when it's expected. Now, that hurt pain lessens over time. But it's always there a little bit. And then there's moments when you talk about them and you remember them. And you remember how you missed one another, how you just couldn't quite connect. And opportunities went by. I could have done things a little differently as I look back on it. But you always do you work with what you got at the time. So I'm not going to live in regret over that, but there's a sadness to it. The good news is that Jesus Christ is risen. He's conquered death, sin, and the grave. And what that means, well, Paul says it best when he says that, "Oh, death, where's your sting?" It's still around, but it loses its sting. Now, it still stings a little bit. But it's lost the despairing sting that it would have if we did not believe in the resurrection. Like Paul said, if I didn't believe in the resurrection, I'd be of all people most miserable. My heart breaks for those people who believe that this is all there is, because when you've lost a loved one, when you've lost a child, it means that's it. It's over. You'll never see them again. This is done. To me, existence would be the most cruel joke in the universe if that was true. If that was true, then everything our heart longs for, everything we dream about, every question we ask, it's absurd, because there are no answers and there's no meaning and there's no purpose, and it just ends. It would violate the core of who we are. But death has lost its sting because Christ has risen. He's the first fruits from the dead. Okay, he's risen like ahead of time, and he has the assurance that there will come a time where all those who are united with him will join him, and it means that the separation of death is temporary. And I encourage us to think about that. It's temporary. In fact, from the perspective of eternity, it's a nanosecond. It's a nanosecond. It still hurts, but it's temporary. And celebrate that fact. You'll see that loved one again. I'm going to have a chance to sit down with Dad again. I have no doubt about that. And we'll talk over all the things we need to talk over, and tell the story about how God was working in our life at every turn, even though usually we didn't know it. One final word, and that is that I imagine there's some people who are listening to this, and you're thinking, well, my loved one was not a believer. What if they're lost? And to that, I would just say this. Remind yourself that Jesus loves your loved one 1,000,000,000 times more than you could imagine you loving them. He is the good shepherd who goes off for that one lost sheep and does not come home until he's found that one lost sheep. Now, I do believe people can say no to the very bitter end. But I also know that Jesus won't ever give up as long as there's any hope. And so entrust them into the love of the perfect, undying, unwavering, uncompromising, unsurpassable love of God that's revealed on the cross. And have peace about that. And live in the hope that your separation from them is indeed but only for a moment. And on that side of eternity, we'll look back and it'll be just a nanosecond. Just a nanosecond. God bless you guys. Live in the love and the joy of Jesus Christ. Bye-bye.